Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Premier League show. Let's get right into it. Yes, hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Premier League show. So, week 2 of Premier League football will start like last week. We'll go with the games that were televised first and then catch up with the rest. So, the first game that was televised was Spurs versus Manchester United. Good morning, Matt. So yeah, it was Spurs versus Manchester United, like I said. Um, Kicking off into this one, Rashford early, he had two big chances for Manchester United. It was a amazing save from Vicario, and he had the second header, which Rashford at least he should have got that one on target. Man United, they should have got a penalty for me from Romero. I think it's a pen. I know it's 2 yards out. However, I think that incident with Romero happens again either this week, maybe next week, but it will happen again sometime in the future, and that will get given as a penalty. So I don't understand why it's not been given here. However, it's a bit of justice, isn't it? Man United the other week, they got away with one from Onana against Wolves, so it was nice for them to have to swallow one back. But Bruno, like Rashford earlier, he missed a header completely over, which he should have scored as well. Second half, Pedro Porro, he rifled the bar. Then a deflection from Sarr off Luke Shaw nearly goes in before hitting the post. Sarr, he gets his goal early in the second half. Kulusevski works so well for Tottenham, and United can't recover after the ball comes in, and Sarr finished it well. Anthony then, he hit the post for Man United, and Spurs for me, they should have got a penalty. The Argentinian Fred Elliott, the butcher, as we like to call him, he shoves Romero over in the box, and he's not looking at the ball at any time when this incident happens, and he should have been booked and then a penalty given. But Casemiro, he then forces a good save from Vicario, and Martinez, his terrible day is compounded with an own goal when he slots in a nice finish from Ben Davis's scuffed assist. Spurs, I hate to say it, but they were well worth the win on the day, as much as it pains me to say that. I tried to tell fans about Ange Postecoglou and the football that he can bring, especially to Spurs into the Premier League. And on the day, I thought Porro for Spurs and I thought Udogie for Spurs were brilliant. And the three in midfield of Sarr and Basuma and Maddison, they were class. I mean, Maddison, he's injured now, but so we'll see how Spurs adjust to that. And I'll give him props as well for Vicario in goal for Tottenham. He was much compared to last week when I said he could be a liability. I'm still judging him. I'm still watching him closely. But yeah, he was much more improved than the first game. And Man United in that game, well, other than Bruno Fernandes, I thought the rest were despicable. I couldn't pick one of them other than Bruno Fernandes that had a good game. And I pray that they come to North London again next week and they play like this, because we'll absolutely, as an Arsenal fan, we'll absolutely spank them if they play like this. And I said on last week's episode that Man United, for me, they were a powder keg that was ready to explode. And this week was the culmination of what's been a really terrible incident at Manchester United with Mason Greenwood. And this, for me, this Mason Greenwood situation, it just exposes how inept and how poorly run Manchester United's hierarchy and regime is. If let's like go to the beginning of this also. In January of 2022, pictures and audio depicting Mason Greenwood and a victim was released to social media. Mason Greenwood was then arrested for this, and Manchester United come out and said that he would not train or play for this club until further notice. They never formally suspended him, but they did say that he would not train or play for this club until further notice. He was arrested again on the 1st of February and released on bail on the 2nd of February of 2022. In October of 2022, he was arrested again on a breach of his bail conditions, and then he was charged with attempted rape, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, and controlling and coercive behaviour. And United still suspended him, and they made note of these criminal charges. On the 2nd of February 2023, this year, Greater Manchester Police confirmed all charges had been discontinued due to a withdrawal of information from key witnesses, and there was no chances of conviction for Mason Greenwood. Man United from there had began a plan and a process regarding what to do with Mason Greenwood since that date of the 2nd of February of this year. The plan and the process of this led to Richard Arnold, the club's chief executive, briefing the club and the club's executive team about the reintegration of Mason Greenwood into Manchester United in early August of this year, which was August the 4th. And then Arnold was going to record a video briefing for the staff and the fans regarding this situation and the reintegration of Mason Greenwood into Manchester United Football Club. Joe Mercer, Man United's director of football, he was said to be behind this on footballing reasons, and I would think that the reintegration of Mason Greenwood would help this team. But then on the same day, Richard Arnold abandoned that announcement, which was the 4th of August. Again, this is just this next bit here is what really irked me. At one stage, Richard Arnold wanted to seek assurances from the Manchester United's women team's players that were away on World Cup duty on the reintegration of Mason Greenwood. This for me is a total cop out. Again, you're putting pressure on women in an already volatile and horrible situation. And some of these women's players that were away on World Cup duty, they ended up with tweets and threats made against them if they didn't allow Mason Greenwood to come back and play, by some people, which they say they're fans, but you're not fans. You're just, you're just despicable people. And that for me, it must have been lovely preparation for these Man United players away on the World Cup duty with a semi-final and then subsequently a final to play. And one player, they had to have their agent enlist a cybersecurity and a security team, as the threats mentioned being watched and visiting their home addresses with threats of violence if they did not let Mason Greenwood back in the club. To me, Man United, they could have done this ages ago, but they didn't want to announce it during their pre-season tour. They didn't want to have Mason Greenwood on tour of the USA, as with most pre-season tours, you have the majority of your commercial engagements. And Man United, they have a £77.1 million commercial revenue value. So some of these partners, in a commercial sense, they may not have wanted to support the reintegration of this player. Remember, subsequently, Mason Greenwood was removed from FIFA in 2023, early 2023, and he was dropped by Nike as his boot sponsor also. So on top of this, I think as well, if you did take Mason Greenwood on the pre-season tour, every press conference via Ten Hag, via a player, would have been dominated by, why is Mason Greenwood here? What do you think of Mason Greenwood? And I again, pre-season, I don't think that's the right kind of environment to bring somebody in. Then there were talks about getting him back for the Wolves game. That to me, again, absolutely terrible time. It completely distracts from the first game preparation, as again, every press conference building up to that via a player, via Eric Ten Hag, would have been dominated with questions regarding the reintegration of Mason Greenwood. And just before that game against Wolves, Man United fans did carry out a protest against the reintegration of Mason Greenwood. And there were a lot of people that said, why did Man United sack Mason Greenwood? Well, Mason Greenwood couldn't be sacked. He wasn't convicted of any crimes. So potentially from a legal standpoint, he could have gone down the tribunal route and countersued Manchester United for loss of earnings, as he's still under contract for 2 years with them. But on Monday, Manchester United did cancel Mason Greenwood's contract with immediate effect, and statements were made by the club and the player. And in my opinion, the statement, it was so hollow. I mean, it read to me, in my own opinion, that it was very much, I haven't done anything, but if I did, I apologise for it, and I won't ever do it again. Remember that the charges have been dropped against Greenwood, but that doesn't mean that Greenwood was cleared. The statements also talk about the standards and the values of Manchester United and upholding the standards and values of Manchester United. Well, like I said, just remember that the standards and values of Man United just 3 Fridays ago, on the 4th of August, was to bring Mason Greenwood back. So I think the standards and values of Man United are completely in the mud. I think Man United 6 months ago, when it was February the 2nd, when he was, the charges were dropped, you should have gone to Mason Greenwood then. We're having a complete tear up of your contract. We're going to pay you out. But in terms of you being a player at this club, you can play football somewhere else. But for Manchester United, you are not playing football here. And the reality of the situation for me, regardless of his talent and his skill, you cannot escape that visual, that audio, or that transcript of him and his victim. And there's no PR in the world that can change these facts. If you're bringing him back, you're then asking for fans to forget all that, cheer him, and accept that the behaviour that took place wasn't despicable and sickening, and allow him to continue being a footballer. For me, soon as you hear that audio, you see those pictures, or you read that transcript, that's the end. And the fact that it's taken 6 months to come to that decision is absolutely baffling. And it speaks to me a lot about the current state of Man United. And I don't feel this is a difficult or complex decision to make at all, especially to take 6 months to make it. And it just screams of a panic. And that to me is a real commonplace for Man United. And Man United right now, for me, need to work incredibly hard at winning back the trust of their community and their fan base, especially on the women's side. As now that it's all been done, you can't just leave this as an out of sight or an out of mind issue. I think it's going to be one that's going to be talked about for quite a long time. But the next game was Manchester City versus Newcastle. City opened the scoring with a great goal by Alvarez, and Kovacic, he picked out Foden, who picked out Alvarez, and Nick Pope got a glove to it, but it wasn't enough. I thought it was a great goal. There was a lot of people that said Pope should have saved it, but I think it's a lot. I think it's a really, really well placed goal by Alvarez. Foden, he laid one onto Haaland, who just hit one wide, and then Foden's second half laid one onto Haaland again, who touched it wide as well. Foden, he forced a very, very good save from Pope, and City got the win. And it seemed very routine and comfortable for them. They didn't really overexert themselves, which was good considering they had the Super Cup in the midweek. But Foden, he was easily the best player on the park here. And Man City, they're full of confidence for the next game away at Sheffield United. And the Geordies, they've got a tough one at home versus Liverpool. But I shouldn't feel too down about the loss against Man City. I think Newcastle have got enough there to cause Liverpool a problem. Next up was Aston Villa Everton, and Villa score first through McGinn from a layoff from Bailey. Watkins, he wins a penalty after getting swiped by Pickford, who was late. Douglas Luiz converted the penalty. Diaby, he hits a great volley, but Pickford saved it. Danjuma, he forced a save from Martinez. Leon Bailey makes it 3. Michael Keane, he made a terrible, terrible mistake, and then he slots it through Pickford's legs. Mope, he forced 2 saves from Martinez. And then Josh Duran slots home with ease. It was another stinker from Michael Keane. And it's an awful throw in from Ashley Young as well to put Michael Keane in that situation. But it was a great win for Villa after the loss last week. And they've got Burnley next. And Everton have a big clash at the bottom already versus Wolves. When you're three weeks into the season, you're already having what feels like 6-pointer games. It's absolutely mental, but it does feel like it's a 6-pointer game. But Leon Bailey, he stood out for me for Villa. Everton, sorry, but no one at the moment stands out for me at Everton. I think they are absolutely terrible, and it could be this year that is when they get sucked into it. I don't know. I still think there's 3 teams worse than them, but it would not shock me if Everton do get pulled in yet again. Then it was West Ham versus Chelsea. West Ham, they scored through us through Aguard. Then the Ward-Prowse delivery. It's always going to be a bonus for West Ham when you've got James Ward-Prowse there. And it's a lovely leap and a header. Jackson, he had a penalty shout for Chelsea, but it was overturned because he was offside. Chukwuemeka scores a lovely equaliser. It was a brilliant bit of footwork and finish from him. And then Paqueta, he had a really nice chance where he stretched for the ball, but it smacked against the post. Sterling, he wins a penalty for Chelsea off Soucek, and Enzo Fernandez goes to take the penalty, and it's saved by Areola. Not a great penalty from him, and West Ham lucky as Soucek was encroaching in the box for this penalty, so it should have been retaken. Well, West Ham, they score again. Ward-Prowse, he picked out Mikel Antonio, who held off Levi Colwell really well with ease and then smashed a finish into the net. It was a really, really nice goal. Aguard, he ended up sent off for West Ham. Colwell, he had a chance that fell wide. And then Moises Caicedo, I said Caicedo last week, and I got a bit of flack for it. So Moises Caicedo, on debut, he brought down Emerson and he gave away a penalty, and it was a horrible debut for him. I think it's arguably the worst debut I've seen since Jonathan Woodgate's for Real Madrid all them years ago, if you can remember it. Paqueta, he then scored to make it a 3-1 win. And in that game, I thought Raheem Sterling looked back to his best for Chelsea, and obviously they played Luton last night, absolutely destroyed. I mean, Luton for me, they're about as useful as a condom machine in the Vatican. That's what I said on Twitter last night, and I stick by it. They're absolutely useless. But yeah, Areola, I thought he was West Ham's best player. West Ham, they got a tough one away at Brighton next, and Chelsea, obviously, they played Luton and they won that quite comfortably. After that was Crystal Palace versus Arsenal, and I've reviewed this with Ray and Kenny long form in the video that come out the other day. If you want to watch that, please do. It was a really, really good time with Kenny and Ray discussing that game. But yeah, last night it was a well fought 1-0 finish for me, and the Arsenal got the win after an Odegaard penalty. And I thought that Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, and William Saliba, they were all brilliant on the day for the Gunners. I thought they were all fantastic. And then it was Nottingham Forest versus Sheffield United. Awani, he gets the first. It's a nice early cross from Aurier, and they nearly after that get the second from the exact same move with the same 2 players again. Salza, he hit one from range for Sheffield United, but Turner made a really, really good save. Harmer, he hit a brilliant goal to equalise for Sheffield United. And then Salza again, he smashed another one wide for Sheffield United. Aurier, he thought he had a penalty shout, but it wasn't one for me. Bolly, he nearly scored from the corner. Benny Traore, he had a great chance after Nottingham Forest made a complete howler at the back. But Turner, again, made a really, really good save. He looks to be a good signing for Nottingham Forest, Turner. He's a sort of goalkeeper that they needed. So, yeah, he's gone in there from Arsenal. He's slotted in there, and he's been playing really well for me. Chris Wood, he got the winner for Forest after another great cross from Aurier. And I watched a bit of this game last Friday night, and I was really, really impressed with Aurier for Forest. I thought he did brilliantly defensively and offensively for them. Sheffield United, like I said, they've got a big game against Man City now, and I think they're going to be in real, real trouble. But Forest, They go to the other side of Manchester and they play Man United. So we'll see how they can hold out there. Fulham versus Brentwood. Brentford. The first goal is a howler from Diop, and Wissa pounces it to take it past Leno, and he slots it into the open goal. Bobby Reed, he had a good chance. Second half, cracking one off the bar. Tim Ream, he conceded a penalty, and I don't feel it was a penalty at all. I think he's been done dirty there, and he also got a second yellow. And Buemo, he steps up and scores again from the spot, and he's become a really reliable penalty kick taker for Brentford since Ivan Toney got his ban. And then Buemo got a second with ease after nice work from Rico Henry and Aya. And Brentford, it's a great 3 points again for them. And Fulham, not great at all, and they've lost Mitrovic as well this week, which is a huge blow for them. But all benefits Arsenal hopefully later on today. And Brentford, they've got a nice London derby versus Crystal Palace at home now to contend with. Liverpool then played Bournemouth, and Bournemouth, they cut Liverpool open early with a long through ball, which was then converted but ruled out. Bournemouth, they press really well and press really high now under their new manager, and they got the turnover, and it was a really nice goal for them, and it was a lovely finish from Semenyo. Virgil van Dijk, he hit the post from a header after that, and then Luis Diaz, he hit a lovely equaliser for Liverpool from a really nice ball from Trent into Jota, who then laid it back for Luis Diaz to finish. Liverpool, they got a penalty from Szoboszlai, and I don't think this should have been given. I think that he's made an absolute howler of that penalty. He's exaggerated that and made it look way worse than it is. Salah, he missed a penalty, but then he tucked in the rebound for Liverpool. And then Alexis McAllister, he was sent off for Liverpool. And again, this is a howler from the refs and VAR. It's a yellow card. It's never a red from McAllister. Szoboszlai, he hit a shot from range that was tucked in for 3-1 by Jota. And then Jota nearly had a fourth, but Neto made a very good save for Bournemouth. Allison, he makes a great save from Cliver, and then another one from Traore as well. And for me, Liverpool were always going to win this after they got that second goal. Bournemouth, they should try and take some positives from this game for me. They pressed really well and they created chances, and they play Spurs this weekend. Maybe they'll have better luck. I think they did enough there against Liverpool that they shouldn't be downtrodden on that performance and the loss. And Liverpool, they've got the tough one, like I said, against Newcastle. And for me on the day, I thought Szoboszlai looked really good for them. Apart from his diving, I thought he was really good. But you can see that this Liverpool side, they still need an improvement. They still need investment. And Liverpool, there is the huge potential loss of Mo Salah lingering. And I do believe that Mo Salah will end up going to Saudi Arabia, as the money for him, I don't think he ever gets that kind of offer again from a club. So I think he would take it. And then Wolves, they ended up playing Brighton. Fabio Silva, he thought he scored from Lamina's scuff shot, but he was offside. Matoma scores the opener for Brighton, and what a beautiful goal this was and is. His speed and control, and then the finish is absolutely fantastic. What a player, by the way. What a player Matoma is. Fabio Silva, he had another great chance, but it was saved by Still, and he should have scored it. Ain't Nouri, he had a chance, but he spooed that wide and over. Brighton, they get a second through a Stupinian. Welbeck forces a save, and Matoma is so quick on it to feed it back across the box so a Stupinian can finish. The third is class again from Brighton, and Ciso made a lovely run and passed it into Solly March to finish it. And then the fourth, it's another lovely goal, and Ciso finds Solly March again with a great ball, and March finishes it with ease. Wang got one back for Wolves with a header, and Nunes, he ended up getting sent off for Wolves after losing his call with added time. No need for that reaction from Nunes. The game's done. You've lost. Just take your L, walk off the pitch and try and regroup next week. But obviously now he's subsequently banned, so that doesn't really help Wolves at all. Brighton, they were superb again for me on the day. De Zerbi, he sets up these players so well, and they're serving up really beautiful football. If talking from a neutral standpoint, Brighton play some of the best football in Europe, let alone this league. In Europe, they're that good. They're really good. And then Wolves again, they make good chances, but they just can't score them. They just cannot score. I mean, they've took 39 shots in 2 games. They've got an XG of 4.4, but they've only got 1 goal. Gary O'Neill, he's got such a hard job to do there. And Nunez, obviously suspended this week, and he's potentially going to Man City. I think they'll get this done. But if Wolves can let him have some of those funds to spend and get some players in, then they could potentially be okay. But again, like last week, I've got to pick my player of the week and the goal of the week. And I'm actually going to give it to the same person. And it's someone who I spoke about earlier. It's Caro Matoma for Brighton. He was absolutely sensational in this game. And like I said, the goal he scored was absolutely fantastic. So it's just justly deserved for Matoma for me. But yeah, that's it. That wraps up another week of the Premier League show. We'll just quickly go to the comments. I know that we had some in here. 3-0 today for Arsenal. Trossi better play and Gabby better stay. Yeah, I agree. Trossard, I hope he gets some minutes out there, and I hope Gabriel stays as well. Phil, thanks to Phil. He says, I don't see Spurs finishing top 7. I think I'd put them 8th or 9th in my table. I think it was 8th. But yeah, I think if I was to redo it, I would put them higher. And then Neil there, I hope they get relegated. Yes, so do I. But I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. And then we got one here for Brady. Thanks, Brady, for coming in. The young and impressionable football fans end up getting the wrong message when his contract wasn't torn up and paid off immediately after the video emerged. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It should have, like I said, the fact that this has taken 6 months is an absolute travesty. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And then the Bluebird legend. Hello, Bluebird. Great goal from Aaron Ramsey last week. Absolute screamer. Happy for him. And happy for you guys that you got him back as well. I've got Newcastle down to beat Liverpool 2-1. Yeah, I think on Super 6, I've done 2-2, I believe. But yeah, it would not shock me if Newcastle did get a result there. But anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. And I'll be back next week with an Arsenal review and then the Premier League show as well. But yeah, thank you so much as well, everybody that's been sharing the content and enjoying the content with the channel. Like I said on Twitter, I was quite apprehensive about being in this live situation. And you guys and the guys that I've had on the show have made the transition from, like pre-recorded content that I used to post to this live content. And yeah, you've been nothing but accommodating and, kind and lovely to me. So I really, really appreciate that. But yeah, thank you guys. And whatever team you support, whatever game you got, enjoy it. And I hope you have a good weekend. Take it easy.